Hey everyone, this is Dr. Angela Kudger, and I am here with Kara Melendy. And tonight we are going to be discussing something that is that can be critical, I think, to all of us, right? So if you do not already know, June is the most abundant month of the year, or one of the most abundant months of the year. And what we do now sets the stage for our abundance to come in over this next quarter and towards the end of the year. So, Kara Melendy and I have been playing together for a long time now, right? We've done a course together called Chakra Balance Blitz. Kara, I will let you actually tell people a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Angela. It's been so fun to co create with you over time. And I know when we jumped on, we're like, it's been a while since we've really connected and done anything together. So this feels like a lot of fun. And just seeing how our journey has grown and evolved so much since we created Chakra Balance Blitz. Like, that was a while ago now.
Long time ago. It's been a long time.
That was a long time ago. So it's so fun just to see our growth and evolution and then to come together and be able to share on wealth energetics today for other business owners and tips. It's amazing. And so to share a little bit about myself, I am a spiritual business mentor, an astrologer. I work with the Akashic Records as well, and really passionate about seeing soul-led entrepreneurs like the light workers, the healers of this planet, receiving abundantly for their work. So getting their message out there, getting their healing gifts, their work into the world, and knowing how to like open up to receive for that as well. And of course, amplifying their impact on the planet, because many of the people that are drawn to my work, they come in with a strong mission. They know they're here to make a difference. They know they have gifts to share. Now, we don't always know what that is right away, but it tends to be that feeling of like, I'm here on purpose, I'm here for a reason, and very driven. And working with the records and with astrology is just such a beautiful way to bring it back to our blueprint, our soul
Mhm.
blueprint, and to bring clarity around what those gifts are, what our purpose is.
Mhm.
So that's really
Yep.
where that component comes in of working with cosmic intelligence.
Awesome. I love it. So, we are going to talk, you guys, tonight about how to use wealth energetics to fuel success in your business, right? And Kara
Mm.
has an incredible background blending all of these different techniques together. So, if you're on this live stream with us, the first thing I'd like for you to do, if I haven't already said this, make sure that you share this out, because somebody somewhere is going to need this information. They may not need it right away, but they will certainly need it later on, right? And so we're going to be talking tonight. And my hope is that if you have questions around this kind of information, this is where you get those questions answered, right? So, Kara, I want to actually just dive right in, because
Yeah.
I'm a like go for the gusto kind of person. And so when we're talking about wealth energetics, right, we're talking
Mhm.
about matching your energy to the money you want to make, right?
Mm.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking, and this can be this can be challenging for a lot of people to be able to step into,
Yeah.
because the one thing that I think we can all agree on is that the wealth that we've currently created for ourselves, or the path of wealth creation that we've created for ourselves, is a result of the energy that we already carry, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
we have the potential to create so much more, but we're going to talk about tonight specifically the things that block us, that stop us, and that keep us stuck, right? So, the energy of June is welcoming everyone to step their abundance game up, right?
Mhm.
So, one of the things I want to dive into, Kara, is, and you guys, if you're following along in the comments and you have a comment about this, or you're here, let us know that you're listening, and let us know where you're listening from, right? And so, Kara, one thing I want to dive into is the number one challenge that I think people have, and that has to do with the money mindset. That has to
Mm.
do with the money mindset. What do you think is the number one reason why people get to a certain level of abundance in life and they stay there, or they get stuck there, and they find people from the same background, they find people
Mm.
from the same level of intelligence that seem to soar, right? So, what do you
Mhm.
think is the number one reason that people stay blocked when it comes to money or when it comes to abundance?
Such a good question. So much goodness there to like dive into for sure. And I think like the beliefs we have around money are key because our beliefs also hold an energy. And I always say like we can't outperform our mindset. So if we're trying to reach for these money goals in our business, but we have these unhelpful beliefs, it's going to make it pretty hard to get there for sure. So looking at what those core beliefs are key, and you know, a lot of them are formed very young in life. So another part of my background is I actually started out as a psychotherapist. So I worked as a psychotherapist before branching into more of the spirituality and knowing that like all our belief systems, including the ones around money, are formed during those first 7 years of life.
Mhm.
So pretty young. And that doesn't mean that we don't have experiences later on that really inform how we see money or even create trauma around money. We absolutely do. But it often stems from those core beliefs, what we witnessed early on, how our parents or caregivers behaved around money. Did we get a sense of tension and stress from them? Did we even hear that, no, we can't afford those things? So we started to form these mindsets and a belief around what money is and what we get to have. And one of the beautiful gifts, I think, of being an entrepreneur, especially a spiritual entrepreneur, is we eventually have to face those beliefs because to have a business,
Mm.
we need to have money coming in, or else it becomes an expensive hobby pretty quickly.
It really does.
And I think the journey around looking at these beliefs around money, and one of the reasons over time I've become so passionate about it, is we learn so much about ourselves when we heal that relationship with money.
Yeah.
And I used to never understand when people would say money stuff isn't about money. I'm like, what do you mean? Of course it is. But as I dove into it a little bit deeper, I realized there was so much more. There was such a conversation around worth and value,
Yeah.
around do we really feel worthy of the money that we want? And then maybe if we feel worthy, do we believe we can have it? Do we see
Mhm.
ourselves as the type of person who is wealthy? Do we see ourselves as the wealthy woman, right?
Yeah.
So worth, I think, is very big. I think believing and seeing ourselves as having what we want is key for bridging that gap as well. And one of the core beliefs, just to even bring it back, Angela, because I know I kind of went way back to where beliefs were formed, but one of the biggest things that shifted for me when it came to money was recognizing that I am more powerful than money and realizing there's so many ways that we actually give our power to money to allow it to control how we feel, to allow it to control our worth and value.
Yeah.
And when we start to remember, like, hey, we're a reflection of source energy here, and money is human created,
Yeah.
and we step back into our power, I find that is really a game changer. So I think one of those core kind of blocks or resistance is, and sometimes we're not even aware, sometimes it's subconscious, that we're actually giving our power away to money and we're making it bigger than us.
Absolutely.
Have you, does
Absolutely.
that resonate?
Absolutely. I think that I love all that. I love every bit of that, that it starts from a very, very young age, how we see money being treated and how money is brought into our lives and how it is used. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible for us to not pick up those habits and start to assume that I've never seen anyone in my family become a certain level of wealth or even live a certain level of abundance. So I don't truly know that it's available to me, right? And then on top of that, I'm going to say this, right? On top of that, when it comes to worthiness, a lot of times we are sometimes raised or taught by people who don't even understand their own worth. So now we're adding not just the fact that we haven't seen anyone reach a certain level of abundance or seen anyone reach a certain level of wealth, but we also haven't seen someone demand what they're worth. We also haven't seen someone live full out in their own worth. And when we put those two together, every it's no wonder the thing that entrepreneurs always say is money is like this. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, right? They say
Mm,
as an entrepreneur, your income is right. It's kind of all over the place, right?
mm,
When that is seen, and if you're someone and you're watching and you're you're in business for yourself, or you're trying to be in business for yourself. The moment you decide that whether your money is up or down, it is a reflection of something that is inexhaustible. The world will never run out of it, right? When you understand, when we all understand that money in and of itself is a tool, right? But it's also an energy. And so and it is one that it's never destroyed. We will never run out of it. It is inexhaustible. When you open up your bank account tomorrow and you look at it, I want you to declare that, hey, this $10, this $20,000, this $1 billion in my account currently is an example of something that is inexhaustible. It will never run out. That means that automatically more is available to me should I choose that I'm worthy of it, right? So it has a lot to do with how do I see myself using money, right? And whether or not I feel like I'm willing to play full out in what I feel like I'm worthy of, right? Purpose is a big part of this.
Love it.
And I'm going to say this other piece. When we decide, it goes both ways, right? And I love that the universe is so beautiful in this way. When I decide that this is my worth and this is how I'm going to play full out, and this is the inexhaustible rich substance that I'm experiencing every time I pay a bill or help someone, the more I'm willing to do that, the more the universe is willing to pour into me. The more source is really willing to show me, here is another pathway to use your abundance. Here is another pathway to use your wealth. Here is another pathway to show your worthiness to help progress someone else on the planet. I think it is such a beautiful thing. Now, I want to know a little bit about your story, Kara, right? I want to hear about how did you come into how you currently think about money, because I know you weren't born like this, right? You weren't born this way, right? You didn't wake up like this today, but you were not born like this, right? So I would like to hear more about how did you end up in this space teaching abundance and money in this way?
I'd love to share more about that. Absolutely. So, yeah, I actually remember thinking back and saying to myself that I never really valued money. What I did value was freedom. Freedom. And to this day, I would say freedom is a top value of mine, having freedom. Having freedom and really making an impact in the planet, those were my top values that I feel led me into entrepreneurship. But pretty early on, it was my business. I see our business as our greatest vehicle for our growth and evolution. I think it points out what our limiting beliefs are, what our fears are. And in order to grow our business, we really have to look at that. So one of the first things I was pleased with was money. And recognizing, like, prior to starting my business, I actually kind of ignored money. Like, I ignored it because it didn't seem important in my mind. I would prioritize other things.
How do you feel about it now?
Oh, it's completely shifted. Completely shifted. But because I ignored it, I struggle with it, right? Like anything, if we don't honor a relationship, we're not going to have it. So it was really my business that got me working on it. And I still have this memory years ago, like sitting in the bathtub doing my money affirmations at the beginning of my journey, like feeling it and doing those affirmations and doing the work of really looking at, like, what are these core beliefs around money, and being able to do that rewiring work was pivotal for me because it was a struggle financially at first. It really was. And I know how hard it feels for people when you know you're here to make a difference and you're meant to do something and you don't know why money isn't coming in, right? And we need money to live, like we do. So it was a hard place to be, but I was also determined. I knew I could get this. And I think it was definitely my vision that kept me going. My vision that, yes, I want freedom. I want to impact people with my message. I know I can help people. So I'm willing to rewire my brain around money. I'm willing to figure this out. I'm going to actively look for examples that may not be in my immediate environment, but that I know are out there. And I think that was the gift, and is a gift of the online space now, is we can look outside of our immediate family and community and see another way of life. I didn't
Yeah.
even have entrepreneurship mirrored to me. Like I had saw, you work hard. What I learned was you work really hard and then you make money. And kind of that dichotomy of you have to do something you dislike in order to earn money. And that never felt right to me, like on a
Mm-hmm.
level in my heart. So I had to actively put in the work,
Yeah.
put in the
Yeah.
work, hired the mentors, do way more than the affirmations, but that was a
Yeah.
part of it. But actively looking at where did this programming come from and what is another way to see this? It's an
Absolutely.
ongoing journey, but I mean, to get to the place I'm at today, it feels so liberating because it has been such a healing journey. And a big part of that is that recognition that, wait a second, I am valuable, I am worthy, I
Mm-hmm.
do have the ability to receive for my work, and I am actually more powerful than money. I do not need to keep giving my power away to money. So that was like a pivotal turning point for me as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember reading a book called Money Wants Me. And I still
Mm,
have the recording of that book. And what you just said reminds me of like the affirmations in that book. It's called Dollars Want Me, right? If you guys in the comments have ever heard of Dollars Want Me, I can't remember who the author is, but I still to this day have
mm,
that video, have that the book recorded on my cell phone as a file. And
yeah.
so it's like I don't need dollars, dollars want me, right? It
Mm,
needs me to use, it needs me to learn my value and then share my worthiness through how I spend it or how I
mm,
use it to help others or how I use it to get my messaging and things out there, right? And so Dollars Want Me, along with so many other different kinds of books out there that give money affirmations. One of the things I learned in entrepreneurship, because I know if you're an entrepreneur and you're here real quick, if you're in the comments, let me know that you're an entrepreneur. Let us
mm,
know whether how long you've been in business, right? How long you've been in business if you're an entrepreneur and you're here live with us, right? And thanks to everyone who has already put something here. Ikana, Charlene, Dr. Tiffany Taft, Julie Harris. Hey, Monique, I'm glad you caught this live stream too. And so Dollars Want Me was kind of wasn't where I first started, right?
mm, mm,
The Game of Life and How to Play It was one of the first ones that I listened to. Like, so it was kind of when we're talking about unraveling what we think about
mhm.
money, right? Now,
Yeah.
aside from coming from humble beginnings, I always chased a career. I don't know why. No one put this in my head, but I
Mhm.
always kind of like you felt like if you work for it, then it will show up. Now, it might show up. That's the it
Yeah.
might, right? That's the key to this, right? Because it's going to show up in
Yep.
accordance to your frequency, right? One of the universal laws that
Mhm.
we taught was
Mhm.
the law of correspondence, where the universe has to match, right? In everything that we do, whether it's relationships, finances, our physical ability, our physical health, the universe has to match energy with you. It has to
Mhm.
give to you in correspondence to what you are also putting out, to what we are all asking for, right? Even if it's things we don't verbalize, everything in our energy says that we value ourselves. It says that we love
Mhm.
ourselves. It says that we know that we're worthy of more, right? And so, besides coming from humble beginnings, I chased a career, man. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am this amount of years old. I should be making this amount of dollars per hour. Now I'm this
Mhm.
years old. I should be making this amount. And I kept going up, right?
Yeah.
Kept going up, right? But the biggest challenge for me was walking away from what I felt like was an incredible track record over 2 decades of a career I had built
Mm,
and still feeling like I was unworthy, still feeling like I was trading dollars for hours and not getting what I was worth, right? And so I had to decide
mhm.
to say, I need to operate and correspond at a higher frequency. This doesn't work the
Mm,
way, right? And so then we start looking across, Kara. We look at other entrepreneurs. We assume they're doing something that we either don't know or they have some secret sauce. I'm here to tell you in the comments, they don't,
yeah.
right? They don't, right? They,
Nope.
they're matching a frequency, right? And we'll talk
Mhm.
why it's important as an entrepreneur to keep going, right? We're going to talk about that before we get off, because the universe is bringing you things in sequences. It's bringing you things in steps. When you stop the sequence of the to learn to raise your frequency. So you have to keep going for those things to start coming into you. So Vicky in the comments says she's been an entrepreneur since 2017. If anyone else has been an entrepreneur, let us know how long you've been an entrepreneur. So Kara, let's talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. Say someone feels like
Yes.
they've got the degrees, they've got the know-how, they're licensed to be an incredible entrepreneur, run a great business, they're
Right.
certified, they're ready, right? They're ready.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they get out there, and this is not uncommon among entrepreneurs. And here they look across. It's impossible not to see other people in your same field, in your same lane. And they
Yeah.
immediately feel like, oh my God, I don't have what he or she has. They must
Mhm.
have something that I haven't arrived at yet. And I'm not that thing yet, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to see me, someone's going to catch me. And it's that you're not that thing, right? Someone's gonna catch me, right? God forbid someone catch me in public and be like, "Oh, you're not vegan," or "Oh, you're not such and such," right? So let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, and
Absolutely.
and yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to you to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, it's such a big one. It is so common. And I think that is the first thing to recognize is we all have these fears. We have all had imposter syndrome at one time or another. And it's okay to have those fears. We just can't allow them to run the show. So, how I see it is I have to continually allow my vision to be greater than what those fears are. I can't feed those fears and I can't feed those doubts. And also knowing, again, it's normal that we have that because we're human. We're going to have those doubts and we're going to have those fears, but they don't have to define who we are or how we show up. So I think a lot of it is a decision that it's not going to hold us back. And again, going to this idea that our business is our greatest vehicle for our soul's growth, our healing, our evolution. This is just another way to look at where we may not be believing in ourselves. And even what you said, Angela, like we may have all the degrees. I see that so often where we can easily look at someone else and see how talented they are, see the skills they have, but they may be doubting it. And this is where it really is an internal job as well. It's like another certification, another course isn't going to fix that if we don't first look within and recognize that where we are today, what we have to say today is enough. Because at any time on our journey, we could look around and say someone else is more experienced than us, someone else has more knowledge on this, but it doesn't mean there isn't a place for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of draw on work from the Akashic Records and astrology as well, which brings us back to our unique soul blueprint. And I really believe if we have a desire to share something to help someone heal in a certain way, it is part of our destiny. We are meant to do that. And there's so many clients we are meant to work with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many other people are teaching on it, they're not going to talk about it the same way that you are because
Yeah.
you have a unique journey. And if we even look at it bigger than that, your soul's journey, like I believe we come in
Yeah.
with gifts we've experience, what we have learned, how we put it together is unique for each of us. So I think it really helps when we recognize that there's people
Yeah.
that need to hear it from us, right? It doesn't
That's
matter how many others are sharing about
yep.
it. Like that can really help put it in perspective with the knowingness that we can be afraid and we can still take action. We can be afraid and we can still show up and do it. And it does get easier over time.
Yeah. And not only that we can still do it that way, but in many cases we must do it that way, because there are people I always in the beginning when I really wanted to quit all of this, right? So really quickly, let me go to the comments. Tiffany said, so Vicky says since 2017, Dr. Tiffany Taft says, I have been an entrepreneur since 2004, but solely a full-time solopreneur. So on your own since March of 2022. Good for you. Vicky says, that you so says show Melanie Ivy says so good that you shared that. Thank you both. Vicky Vicky says it's so important to surround yourself with people who support you. Reverend Jocelyn Ferry says entrepreneurship seriously started in 2016 for her. That's where she's at right now, realizing that I'm my money and money doesn't define me. It doesn't, but you have to be, how can I say this? You have to be bold enough to ask for things that are of much higher value. You have to be. You have to be. I remember first coming out like as an entrepreneur. Really, I started um, taking like clients like on the side of work in 2015. Now I decided to walk away from my career in 2018, right? And man, that was a struggle. Let me tell you, that was a struggle. I had never, ever made any real, like, sustainable income
Yeah.
outside of working at the hospital,
Yeah.
right? It's an awakening, right? It's
Mm.
an awakening. I still remember like how I felt, and it's crazy because I don't have that mindset anymore, right? I remember the first day I didn't have to go to work,
Mm.
go in and punch a clock and see patients, and right, I remember that morning, and
Mm.
felt like I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, I
Right.
don't really, I guess I'm gonna get online and do a little bit of email marketing. I was trying to figure this out. No. And for those of you who were like, dang, you didn't have, no, I did not have it figured out. I did not. I said, maybe I'll get online and start playing around a little bit. Let's see if anybody wants to buy anything at the time. Um, I forget that streaming platform, but it was big, and I was like, let me get on here because everybody's on there and everybody's on Twitter, and and it was this roller
Yeah.
coaster income,
Mm.
and so I had to really decide, like, okay, how are you going to make goals for yourself? And
Mm.
I think most of us, and you guys tell me this in the comment, how many of you have set money goals and you didn't hit those goals? And for some reason, we tend to equate it to our worth,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
tend to be like, I didn't hit that goal because maybe I'm just not that good.
Mhm.
No, there's probably something in your process that wasn't tight enough for you to hit that goal, right? And
Totally.
so it's in hindsight that I can now realize that I was always positioned to have a steady stream of income that was sustainable for me. That I
Yeah.
was always in position to do that,
Yeah.
right? I was always in position to do that. The
Amen to that.
only thing that held me up was the way that I thought about money. My
Mhm.
mind was still driven to trade dollars for time, right?
Mhm.
So for me, having a $40,000 month when I first came out the gate, I was like, oh, I think this is going to be easy. Well, the next 5 months was zero, right? So when you're in entrepreneurship, you're like, okay, wait, let me figure out what I did then and try to duplicate that. And it's not always
Mm.
that way, right? At
No.
some point, though, every entrepreneur will tell you they had to stop and address the way
Mhm.
that they thought about money. And
Absolutely.
they had to put themselves in rooms where the conversations were high dollar conversations, right?
Yes.
Where we're not in rooms where they're talking about tens of thousands anymore. We're in rooms talking about millions. We're in
Mm.
rooms talking about high dollar amounts. And you have to, I'm going to tell you, you have to sit there and be uncomfortable with it. But
Mhm.
the frequency will still change. The
Yeah.
fact that you're around the energy of the conversation and you can take it in and nurture it will allow you to start to shift who you are and say, well, maybe I do bring great value. If they let me
Mhm.
in the room and I'm able to sit here, maybe I should start shifting the way that I think about money. Maybe I bring some immense value that I hadn't tapped into yet. And if
Yeah.
that's the case, let me figure out how to make more of that. Let me figure out how to do more of that, right? And
Oh,
so there
good.
is, I think, when it comes to entrepreneurship and wealth creation and abundance, there is a boldness that must be a part of your journey that
Mhm.
that
Oh,
is directly
see.
related to your worthiness, right? And whether you feel like you are worth what you're
Mhm.
looking to accomplish or what you're looking to bring in. It was a huge shift for me. And then
Beautiful.
understanding, I think at a high level, that money will never run out. right?
Always more.
It's inexhaustible. So your part is out there. If you will share who you are, your piece is out there too. There's so much
Yes.
for you, right?
Oh,
So
so good, Angela. You're amazing. I love it. I love that rampage. And it's so true. It's just, and I love how you are so embodied in that frequency of like, hey, the money's there. We just need to step up and be bold enough to claim it, give ourselves that permission, and absolutely putting ourselves in spaces where we're having these conversations around money that are high vibe, that aren't putting the amount we want on a pedestal. It normalizes it. And I think that's the key, because often we'll put money on a pedestal or whatever goal we're going for next, right? Whatever it is. I know when entrepreneurs first start out, it tends to be that 10K month, right? And from there, it just goes. But we tend to put it on a pedestal. And anything that's on a pedestal is automatically out of reach. So when we're having conversations with people and we can see, oh, it is possible, and then move it from just it's possible to, oh, I wonder if it's possible for me. It is. It totally is. We just have to know it is and take it down from that pedestal. Then it can flow into our experience. And it really is, like you had mentioned a few times, Angela, like a frequency, and how some entrepreneurs think it's this roller coaster, but it does not need to be, because it's all about stabilizing our frequency. When we align to the amount that we want to receive and we learn to hold that energy consistently, it'll come in. And it's really cool to see. I know I've had experiences throughout my business where I'm actively taking action as well. I should say that piece. I am showing up, I am taking action, but I don't always know the way money's going to come in. I don't know this client is going to reach out. Like, it's really fun to witness when you hold the energy, how it happens. Doesn't mean we still don't have a plan, but it's just really interesting to witness the way things rearrange to match the energy we are holding. And then over time, we see, oh, wow, okay, we start to build more confidence in this is an energy, this is a frequency, and I can learn to calibrate there. And we all have the ability to do that. So I love that we're having this conversation, and everyone here can see that, yes, I have this, and begin to believe that, and see that for yourself.
Absolutely. So important. And then share it with people who can get on the same frequency with you. I think another big part of this, and that takes me to like another question I want to ask you, Kara, about like, because I know we got entrepreneurs that have been that are seasoned here, right? So if you're someone that you're at a place in your business where it can completely sustain like your life, if you're a solopreneur, that's different, but your life, obviously your life, your living expenses, if you have children, support what they need, right? And or if you are someone who is getting ready to hire your first employee or a first assistant, or you already have employees, right? Let us know that in the comments as well, so that we kind of see where you guys are. But Kara, I wanted to talk a little bit about trading, like being able to make sure that we get paid for the value that we bring. I'm trying to put that the right way, right? Because there are a lot of entrepreneurs who say that they're in business, and if they're not selling like a solid product or whatever, because that's different. A lot of times if they're doing a service, they feel compelled to do it for free, right? And right. I think we've all been there, right? Put in the comments if you've given away stuff for free.
Yeah.
I was the farmer. I remember hearing someone say this on Periscope. They were like, when somebody's giving away too much content for free, it's called the farm alarm, right? You're giving away the farm, right? Way too much money. You will never get paid. Okay, you will never get paid, right? And on top of that, people will copy your stuff and then sell it. So you don't see value in it, someone else will, right? So I want to talk a little bit about why it is so important to have the balance between giving, serving, right? And charging what you're worth and sticking to what you charge.
Absolutely. It is so key that we have that energy exchange. And this can be bumping up against a lot of beliefs where we may feel guilty, especially in the world of spirituality and healing, right? That old belief that if I can help heal someone, like, shouldn't I give that for free? But what that leads to is many people who are extremely gifted that are just giving from this empty cup. Money is a form of exchange in our society at this time. So having that exchange is key, allowing that to come in is of high service. And I know for myself, I love to invest in things that feel good. Like, I want to put my money toward things that I feel nourish me and that I love and that I value. So we have to trust that others want to do the same with our work and our services as well. And it is up to us to value it. That's part of our job, right? As the healer, to let people know the value in what we have to offer and the value in investing in yourself. Because I know early on as well, like what you had explained, D'Angela, giving so much for free and then wondering why I was so burnt out. It was out of balance. I wasn't receiving, and we get to receive. And yet, and the more we're receiving financially, the more we can give away as well, right? The more energy we have, the more we can give to causes that we desire. Like, it is of high service to receive for our work. And I think it does go back to this can be a paradigm shifting for many people to let go of the guilt around the receiving and instead see it as, what if this is really of service? It's of service to me because I'm valuing my work. It's of service to my family because I'm able to provide for them. It's of service to the other person that's sitting across from me because I'm able to meet them in a place of feeling recharged and not resentful and not burnt out. So it's just beginning to see it in a whole new way.
I love that. I love it, love it, love it. And it sounds like a lot of people in here. So someone in the comments, Tiffany says, "I'm free. I am freed out." So
We get
right?
burnt out.
Jocelyn says she says, "I'm in starter stage in entrepreneurship." Excellent. So this conversation is a perfect time for you. Andrea said, "It's good. Anything on a pedestal is out of reach." Yep. Kara said that. Yes. And then Vicky says, "Yes, I'm in spirituality and I love to serve." She says, but she also values her time. And then Tiffany says, yes, the empty cup, the gifts, my gifts have high value. Yes, they do, right? And we have these gifts and talents so that we can exchange and make our way during this lifetime, right? So that's something to remember as well, right? So it's like we undercut what the universe has already given to us to create abundance with. How dare we? How
Right.
dare we? How
How
dare we?
dare we? I love it.
So we have to keep that in mind as well. So Kara, I'd like to shift a little bit, just to get into a little bit of the work that you do and how you're able to serve people. Now, the first thing I want to talk a little bit about is the Akashic Records. In
Yeah.
the comments, if you've ever heard of the Akashic Records, I want you to type in the comments what you know about the Akash or the Akashic Records, right? And Kara's going to talk. Right. Okay. And Kara's going to chat just a little bit about that, and then we're gonna shift gears.
Yeah, I mean, the Akashic Records they were a game changer in my business. So the Akashic Records are basically the unique journey of our soul. We each have our own records that we can tap into and access. And when we do, we connect to our unique blueprint. So that's where we begin to gain more clarity around our gifts and our talents, what we are here to share with the world, what our highest timeline can look like. And that's where it's a game changer for our business as well. Our highest timeline for money, our highest timeline for freedom, for joy. And we can often find that our human self is actually not living out that full timeline of what is really available. But the good news is, at any time, we can pivot and we can continue to align with what is really possible, what our soul knows to be possible. And our business also has a unique records. So when
Mhm.
I became certified in the records, and now, years later after working there, I now certify other students and other people in the records as well. But one of the first things that I receive from the records is my business also has a unique energy and consciousness. And I learned how to connect into the records and into the essence of my business. And I think many people feel that. Maybe they don't always use the words of like the records of my business, but they feel that our program, our offer, it's like a life force of its own. So we can
Mhm.
really learn to connect with that, with each thing we put out into the world, and really feel, who is this meant to serve?
Mhm.
And really leading from service while also keeping those channels open to be able to receive abundantly for it. So the records is such a beautiful tool to tap into our highest timeline, to tap into our gifts. And when it comes to money as well, to also heal karmic patterns around money.
Mhm.
Some of this stuff we talked about this lifetime and the programming, our subconscious programming from early on, but we can also have things that are passed along in our, like, generationally. So in our ancestral line, a lot can be passed along, or even past life stuff. And the records are a way to really look at that and put closure to
Mhm.
cycles. So once again, we can live in alignment with our highest timeline, and that looks different for everyone. So my
Mhm.
highest timeline may be different from yours, Angela, and everyone else here, right? Because we all have unique intentions for this human experience as well. So it really aligns us to our path, which is a game changer for business as well, and strategy, because it can be so easy to look around and try to mimic what someone else is doing. I know you mentioned this earlier, Angela, like sometimes we get into the mindset of, this person knows something I don't. What's this secret strategy? And it's like, well, there really, really isn't one. There's so many ways to
Yep.
succeed. And the best way for us is the one that honors our blueprint. So the records really bring us back to that as well.
I love it. I love it. Someone asked here, I think in the comments, how often do we talk about this, or how often do we go live about this? Now, this is the first time we've gone live about this, right? But I do believe in, when conversations like this happen, having a
Mhm.
way to support people further, right? I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly believe in that. I don't like
Mhm.
leaving people hanging. I feel like
Right.
open people, like, be there to support, right? Because it's new for a lot of people, and or everyone's looking for support kind of in that way. Vicky says, I'm familiar with the Akashic records in Edgar Casey. And then Tiffany says, I had a reading last year in Peru, and I need to tap into that more. And then Jocelyn says, I heard about Akashic records. I haven't looked at it much. I learned that my business has a spirit of its own and a name.
Oh,
That's
yep.
amazing, right? And that's exactly what Kara is saying, right? And if we think that someone, I have always felt like the Akashic Records is the secret sauce, your
Mm,
personal secret sauce, right?
totally. Yeah.
Right, right. Like, I feel like even if a person doesn't know the record, they kind of
Mhm.
fool around and get tapped into or aligned with what would
Mhm.
be theirs, and coincidentally, they raise their wealth or vibration from it, right? Even if they don't know anything about it, they can feel aligned to move forward
Mhm.
with it. But one of the best ways to be able to do that is to learn about it, right?
Yeah.
And understand your unique blueprint, like, or your
Mhm.
unique soul's journey. And
Yeah.
so I want to talk a little bit about how we can support people here
Mm.
on their journey, right? So I know you have a mini series that's coming up. Let's talk a little bit about that now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have a free mini series coming up on mastering the energetics of a multi six-figure spiritual business. And anyone who is interested in the records, there's going to be a lot of guidance I'm sharing from the records, and how to really connect back to your soul blueprint so you can tap into that frequency of wealth in your business. Because again, it really is the secret sauce. And I also want to make it clear, we all have the ability to tap in. We all have the ability to access that wisdom. So in the free mini series, we'll really be diving into like the energetic component as well. And we've talked a lot about that today, Angela, how when it comes to like wealth and receiving in your business, the energetics is everything. It really is, because the universe works in the language of frequency and energy, not in linear time. So the more that
Mm.
we can master that in our business, the easier it is to receive. And there's a big focus as well on being soul led. multiple six-figure soul-led business, which I think is coming from a very different space as well. It is coming from that desire to be of service and to honor our soul blueprint, our soul gifts, which is a totally different energy. So if you've, and I think this can happen anytime in our business, maybe we're just starting out and we're kind of trying to find our niche, or like what's aligned for us, or we're further along in our business. We've been entrepreneur for a long time and we're just looking at where is my path now. I'll definitely be talking about more about how to stay in that space of alignment with your soul truth and what you're here to express in the world at this time, and opening up those channels of wealth and receiving, because I really love to see soul-led entrepreneurs receiving for their work, because I can just envision a planet where there's more of that. Like, can you imagine? Like, that's a game changer. Yeah. Having more of these conversations from a heart-centered place, being able to share our gifts with the world from a space of overflow, not lack and scarcity, and like just allowing to receive, like it would be a different planet. And I'm holding that vision. So anyone who resonates, I would love to have you join me for that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so for those of you who want access to the mini series, after this is over, I'm going to post the link under the video for you guys to have. And so you'll have access to that mini series, and then you can connect with Kara directly that way, and then get the resources that she has for you. Listen, we had a time limit of 45 minutes for it tonight. Are there any questions in the comments before we hop off, you guys? This has been absolutely amazing. So if you have any questions about anything, I see people are tagging other people here. Vicky says sounds wonderful. Yes, so I'll post the link so that you can get access to the mini series. But are there any questions that you guys have for me or Kara, especially if you have something specific that you want us to address around money? And I mean money like in terms of entrepreneurship, right? We can address it around like working in your job and money, but this works best if you're a full-time entrepreneur or you're someone who is aspiring to be a full-time entrepreneur. So let us know in the comments. Before we hop off, any final words, Kara?
Oh, this was so fun, Angela. We're going to have to co-create more of this together. We always just have such a fun energy together. And I know we're both very connected to the wisdom of the records. So perhaps even more on that in the future. And yeah, it was so fun today. I guess main takeaways is knowing, like, you know, if you're drawn to this conversation, you are drawn to it for a reason, and you do get to receive abundantly for your soul's work on the planet. And it just starts with that deciding, claiming your space, and being willing to tell a new story around money. And that, you know, little but huge shift that I took around recognizing that I am more powerful than money, right? We are all more powerful than money. And when we see through that lens, we make different decisions and we start to show up in a new way. So I hope to see you all in the mini series if it resonates. And thank you so much for having me, Angela. I appreciate you, and you are such an inspiration, just seeing all the beautiful things you're creating on this planet and how you continue to rise, like truly an inspiration.
I'm finding my way. Still finding my way. But yes, you're right. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who, before you hop off, make sure you do two things: share this out, and then send love and light in the comments to someone that you see sharing time and space with you here. And if you see your name, make sure you send love and light back to someone else, to let them know that you appreciate what they sent to you as well. So Kara, we definitely got to do more, right? So we've got to figure out a way to bring more content. Maybe we'll go through universal laws, or maybe we'll go through I don't know, something. We'll figure something out so that we can bring more content. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think that people will get immense value out of this. Okay. All right. Listen, it's been a pleasure sharing time and space with you. You guys have an incredible night. Love and light, y'all. Bye.